it will become manifest that filming of a more elusive spirit domain is beyond the ability of astronomy, and it would make no difference if the spirit domain were within or beyond the physical universe. Moreover, were such a utopian haven to exist within the realistic universe, and were to be nightly viewed and measured by all of us, tyrannomeus mighty instruments, how could its identity be established? Would the spirits tell me astronomers, or would God tell them? Could the flaunted astronomical mechanics which are approved impotent to detect celestial landmass, or to differentiate between seeming and factual sky gasps motions be expected to penetrate into a determinate, eternal celestial homestead for human spirits departed? And how could it be known as such, even though it might in some inconceivable magic manner be embraced by mortal man's instruments of detection further? Which of man's great instruments could be expected to determine that the spirits detected in an obscure Espero domain were in fact heavenly spirits? What could be the precise astro-mathematical formula, providing the standard of measurement for spirits heavenly and spirits on heavenly heaven? Theological heaven, which is not the so-called heavens above, could be anywhere within the constructed physical universe. So far as any abstract science is concerned, what abstract science or what positive science is capable of contradicting? The conjecture that on some landmass area of the universe whole, and an area that is not embraced by dogmatic heaven, there are now dwell human beings possessed of wings, when we consider astronomy's absurd assumptions which obscure and deny the reality and life of the universe. What strangeness could possibly attach to the assumption that living men and women of other universe areas are endowed with wings? There is nothing strange about it when we consider that any number of inferior animals of so-called prehistoric times are portrayed with wings, even though they were never seen by men, who is to determine that the age-old desire of terrestrial man to fly stemmed in its entirety from the ever-present example and influence of birds in flight? Could there not have been retained with a man the instinctive knowledge of having flown at an earlier period of his development? Further, could not the presently developed terrestrial men, prior to his terrestrial residence, have had wings suitable for a former residence somewhere on the celestial? Surely it is just as easy to ordain men with wings as to conjecture them with tails. Even though tails might be considered more appropriate for some further, what mortal eloquence of reasoning can convincingly deny the existence of a celestial area, inhabited by and restricted to formless spirits that cannot be seen, as such spirit cannot be seen? Human mind could not discern their presence. Even though terrestrial men were to trespass on such celestial area of spirit domain and move among the formless spirit residents, can we, a physical substance and form, see the radio image of substance during the period when it is transformed into energy and motion? Can we detect it before it is received and reproduced? A substance image by the receiving apparatus we have constructed especially for the energy reception and its transformation into an image of the original substance. And though our receiving and transforming equipment be most magnificent, can we detect, receive, and transform the energy unless there is proper reception or attunement? Can we decipher the telephonic vibrations in transit? And before they reach the receiver, adjusted for their reception, can we intercept the brain's functional magnetic vibrations before they are registered as waves on the recording chart of our own making? And even after their recording, can we decipher their vibrant of messages in physical terms? These forces at work are within the unquestioned realistic realm of human physical expression. They represent the elements event from men and of which man has daily experience. Yet man is creating power behind such forces at work, with the possible exception of the brains. Function lacks complete mastery of those forces directly at hand and under man's constant supervision. Therefore, what is the possibility of scientific determination of spirit vibrations, which are without conformance to any man-made recorder? And the possibility becomes more remote if we grant the astronomical distances involved to be real. This treatment of spirit may seem to conflict with previous mention of a living person's observation of a moving wooden essence third proceeding in the darkness away from a human body, where all vital functions had just ceased. However, there can be no conflict. The spirit seen as an individual spirit must lose its individuality as it merges with all spirits of the unknown spirit world. then may defeat mortal ability to see it again as the individual spirit as it took flight from the body it had sustained for 1 or 100 years, like the individual cell, which is lost to view by the ensuing multiplication of cells constructing the human body. The individual spirit must be lost to view in its organs, with the countless spirits making the eternal spirit world. After all, it was the unseen spree which actuated the original cell to build the body. Without it, there would have been no body. And the spirit which actuated the original cell to build the body remained the activating force of that particular body until the spirit was ready to depart. Such condition is life. It should be manifest to all, even if there were not a single religious utterance attempting description of man's eternal spirit. However, in spite of the individual spirit's burdens with other spirits after it has performed its task in the individual body, it may at times reassert individuality and take flight from the domain of collective spirits departed. That is a very pleasing conjecture, and there is no authority to deny the possibility. In such case, the individual spirit may again be seen by selected human beings to whom the spirit manifests its presence. The following simple example may more adequately described as living individuals with body and spirit. We are permitted to see neuron activity of the body's nervous system. It is seen through the experienced twitching of a single nerve, but we are denied seeing the accumulation of body neurons which comprise the body's nervous system. Hence the departing single or individual body spirit at the time. A departure from the body may ere be considered analogous to the single nerve's observable twitching that individual spirit's completion of flight from the body, making for its organs with all the spirit world would afford at corresponding status. In the unseen accumulation of neurons in the living body's nervous system, it would thereby become invulnerable to the sight of any living person. However, even though it were obliged to remain merged with other spirits of the spirit world, it could express unseen spirit individuality. By manifesting its spirit presence to the spirit of a particular living person, thus would spirit manifestations unseen if I look for the person's subconscious, which would in turn alert consciousness to that spirit's presence. And the spirit presence, though unseen, would be most real. The living person's entire nervous system would feel it, and the effect of the living person's spirit attunement to the departed spirit's presence would penetrate to the outer layer of the person's skin. There are many who have known such spirit attunement and have experienced its reaction on the flesh and the skin. Hence it should not be too difficult to discern that the greatest possible physical advance, and to land areas of the so-called heavens above, can never involve trespass on the territory of heaven, wherever it may be. Though the so-called heavens above are everywhere, heaven must always be a restricted domain, where living beings are denied entrance, wherein otherwise heaven would cease to be heaven, and it is no doubt the only area where there is no necessity for the luminous skylight to express stars shining above the splendor of heaven would have to be too magnificent for detection by lenses and their lensmen, or it could not be heaven. It would have to transcend mortal concept, and it does 50 long and tumultuous years ago. In that burden was child. Why did folklore and fables holding the enchantment of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? How I wonder what you are, a sensitive child, asked his beautiful First Lady of Life, Mother. How far is the sky? And the beautiful First Lady, to whom this book is appropriately dedicated, responded, Darling, the sky is millions of miles away. Memory of her loving response provokes the question, can anyone believe that the measure of enchantment held in childish vista of an unknown sky million miles away can compare with the fascination held in adult knowledge of the skies? Propinquity at 10 miles can the enchantment of distance which served childhood, compared with adult comprehension of the skies, godly ordained purpose of providing unfailing protection for all life, and vegetation on land underlying that sky throughout the universe. All what possible loss could the child sustain through a realization that the million-mile distance was untrue, and that the appearance of great distance to the sky was an illusion. Nothing could be taken away because nothing real had existed. And in this particular instance, considerable is gained through understanding of the skies, propinquity, and its marvelous life-saving purpose and function. By the same token, what loss could be sustained from understanding that the myriad celestial lights are of the same gaseous content is the terrestrial sky, and that they express the same degree of brilliancy, and that they perform the same motions as our terrestrial sky's luminous powder surface, and who could be hurt through knowledge. That the light from terrestrial sky area must express to celestial observers the same heavens above, which celestial lights present to observers dwelling on this terrestrial area. Though every living person possessed complete understanding of celestial reality, would not such luminous celestial areas continue to transmit the present illusory star messages? We must not lose sight of the fact that up is always relative, up is everywhere. Hence, present residents of the terrestrial will in future years dwell on land, underline what is now considered a star. Then in looking up or out from the celestial land area, they will observe terrestrial sky areas as stars and planets, and would not events of celestial areas speak of the collected luminous terrestrial sky areas as the heavens above the appearances? And the description of such appearances will continue to be the same, in spite of the fact that knowledge of the illusion will be positive. It will be known that every point of terrestrial skylight is only deceptively globular, and therefore only apparently isolated. Hence the words of illusion will endure, though knowledges have that Lee applied only to the illusory. They will have extended life in the manner that the fable at the stork is afforded expression by adults, who know that the stork's delivery of babies is pure fiction. Does not adult intelligence enjoy the most far-fetched fiction and the most impossible for temporarily intriguing cinema productions, even though complete awarenesses had that conditions described by books or cinemas area beyond the bounds of reality? Hence were the utmost knowledge of celestial values, cause the stars as they are now seen to appear less than what they now appear to be. Would they not hold greater value as known star illusions? And as the unknown illusions of the centuries, the moon would not be less moon, were it universally known to the area of luminosity. Greater than the luminosity of other celestial areas is, but a reflection of the sun at various angles of different periods, and it will not detract from the moon and its purpose, when it is known that the reflection is not cast upon an isolated moon body much closer to the earth and other celestial areas, but that the reflection is in fact cast upon an area of the luminous connected celestial sky. Would not the moon continue to shine, and would it not continue to inspire all the poetic description of yore? Would not the harvest moon of tomorrow as of yesteryear reigned in regal splendor along its full-dress course of autumn nights, and would not bring to pleasing fruition the bountiful crops and other joys of harvest moon? 10. Harvest nights, would not the symbolic crescent moon persist, and married all the time-worn description of oriental intrigue, and how dismal the soul would be, a one who could not be transported on the crescent moon to faraway deserts, ends of tents, where nearby homes passion's guilty oriental crescent moon with tone of fiery red? Would not all that apply, whatever the moon may be in a world of reality? And that world of reality, the moon is very definitely not an isolated body. The author from 50 years ago questioned. His mother recently directed the same question to a youth who was intently observing the nightly drama of celestial sky. Tonight he asked, "Son, how far away do you think the sky is?" And the youth responded, "The sky is Gillian Sangil eons of miles away, billions and billions of miles away."